Hey guys, this is Mike with yet another video. It is finally time for me to introduce this giant tracking sheet that I've created to keep up with basically everything that we do in the game. I will kind of just dive right into it. As usual, I'm not really working from a script, but believe it or not, I am working from kind of an outline. I think that this might end up taking about 5 reasonably lengthed videos to get through everything. I kind of want to split them up by different categories so that when you want to find something specific to, say, crafting or the signature items or something like that, that you don't have to watch a very long video, but instead you just watch the short video, short by, I guess, my standards, short video about that particular topic. So let's see how long this one takes. I'm kind of watching the clock, and I'll cut it off at what I think is a reasonable time, but I do have some different notes here I want to get through. So this is the Google Sheet. You'll have one per character. You're not sharing them with the group, and you're not sharing them across multiple characters. If you'll notice across the bottom, by the way, I'm very zoomed in here. I'm at 150%, and I'll zoom more if I think it's necessary for you guys to see. Obviously, if I was actually doing this, I would set to 100% or even less so you could see all of these large spreadsheets, at your desk. But for the purposes of a video, I thought zooming in tighter was probably smart. So anyway, across the bottom, you're going to see there are a lot of tabs in the spreadsheet. I've underlined them in green if they are sheets that have things that you need to fill out on them. If they have a lock on them, you can't make any changes to them at all. In the case of ones like this one that you're looking at that's in green, the pink areas are locked down, but the green areas are awaiting your input. And some fields are dynamic and they change from pink to green, but we'll talk about that when we get to it. Anyway, the yellow ones have something for you to see in them, but nothing for you to input. And again, that lock means you couldn't change anything here even if you wanted to. And then if you go to the very end of the tabs, like I said, there's like 20 tabs here. Some are red and locked. They have the code that I'm using to make all the magic happen. And the red means there's nothing here that you should be interested in. The lock means you couldn't change anything here even if you wanted to. So anyway, let's get back into it. The first tab, the first thing on it says fill out this sheet first. When you gain a new character level, update this tab and the skill tracking tab. We'll talk about the skill tracking tab later on. There's a lot written on these sheets. When you make certain selections, a lot of text will pop up in some cases. But I have designed this in such a way that you really shouldn't have to refer to the books at all to know what to do. So it would behoove you to read all this stuff that I've written all over the place on here as you kind of go through it. I know it looks all haphazard and whatever, but I actually tried to make it sort of pleasing to the eye, and I tried to be consistent about the way I color things throughout the sheets. So hopefully it works out for you, but I'll be interested in your feedback. So you guys are familiar with the Paladin NPC that I've been playing with your group named Grim. I'm going to fill out this sheet on his behalf and see how it goes. If I'll warn you ahead of time, I've already decided if I run into a problem or some sort of technical snag, I'm just going to pause the video and deal with it, and then I'll start it up again. So the first thing we do is put the PC's name in caps up here. So I'll put Grim. Well, I'll spell it correctly. I'll put Grim there. If Grim had an intelligence bonus, I should put the bonus here. So again, this is not his intelligence score, but his intelligence bonus. Grim actually doesn't have an intelligence bonus, so I'm going to leave that 0. His charisma bonus is 2, however, so I'm going to plug that in. His level, again, you'll notice I'm going to these light green fields and filling them in. That's all I'm expected to fill in. Everything else is going to fill in on its own auto-magically. Grim is actually level 5, and if you'll watch this area here, when I tab out, you'll see that some other stuff turned green, because now it's like, oh, you're level 5, then you've got 5 things to fill in. It wants to know, if you'll just kind of work top to bottom, left to right, you'll probably be more or less happy with what goes on the sheet. wants to know what classes he took, and this is all being filled in so the sheet will know how many skill points you should have. Like most of my characters, Grim is a straight class, so he is all paladin, but if you're multi-class, of course, fill it in correctly. It's showing here that he gets 2 class skills because it knows a paladin gets 2 class skills per level. He doesn't have an int bonus. I can't predict how you spent your favored class bonus. So if you spent it on a skill, select the 1. If you didn't spend it on a skill, leave it as 0. So this is how many skill ranks did you get from favored class. Again, he put all of his into hit points, so I'm going to leave those zeros. And then do you get a race bonus? Obviously, I could have gathered what race you are and made all this auto-populate, but frankly, I didn't feel like it when humans are the only ones I really have to worry about. So if you're a human, then you're getting an extra skill a level. Maybe, I don't know, do half-elves also get that? Anyway, you guys know better than I do. But if you're getting a racial bonus every level, then you need to come through here and add it. Grim is a dwarf, so he is not getting any kind of bonuses in that regard. So this looks good for his skills. I'm going to scroll down here, and it says if your character have plans or has future plans to have ranks in any perform or profession skills, you can go ahead and name them in the spaces provided below. You can always come back and add these later, but if you go ahead and if you know them in advance, go ahead and do it. So for instance, Grim has the profession Temple Guard. You know a little bit about his mysterious past now, but he was a Temple Guard in his past. And then you guys know that you get background. If you bothered to write a background for your character, you get 1 rank in any skill at first level and 1 rank in either a profession, a craft, or a perform skill. So I'm going to open this up. For his any skill, he took knowledge religion. So he has got a point in knowledge religion from his background. And actually for his profession, he's going to take Temple Guard. And you'll see why filling this in made a difference now. When I open up my list of skills and scroll down to the professions, you'll see these are alphabetical. You'll see that it's filled in profession 1 as Temple Guard now. So I've got that available as a choice from my skill drop downs when I go select them, and that'll come in to play a lot more when we get to the skill tracking tab. And then if you guys recall, and you're forgiven if you don't recall, but you may recall that I said you could pick 1 skill and you would get 1 point in it every level forever. This is mainly in there to try to help folks out who want to do crafting, but like paladins don't get any darn class skill points. So if you want to say, hey, I'm going to be a weaponsmith or an armor smith, something that it really would benefit from cranking out to rank 20, then that's probably a good thing to put in here. His dedicated skill, as I recall, is survival. That's what was special about him. So I'll go down here and he'll be getting a rank in survival every level. So we've taken care of the skill prep stuff here. Now we're going to do his languages. Every race in my game, I don't use the Pathfinder rules for languages because I don't use the Pathfinder languages. Every race in my game starts with either 3 or 4 languages. Common, everybody gets either 1 or 2 based on your race, and then everybody gets a regional language that they can pick based on where they live, basically. In this case, dwarves, I happen to know without going and looking. All this is posted at World Anvil. He happens to speak Dethic, which is the sort of the formal Dwarven tongue, and he speaks Dwarvish, which is sort of the Dwarven common tongue. He also spent a lot of time in Waterdeep, so he speaks Eluskan. And then people get a background or bonus language, and he learned Chultan as part of coming on this mission. If he had an intelligence bonus, it would be offering him green lines here to pick his intelligence bonus languages. And if your intelligence goes up over the course of your character's life, then these will turn green and you can go out here and change them, because those ranks are retroactive in Pathfinder, unlike the old D&D 3.5. If you have ranks in the linguistics skill, then those options will show up here. We haven't filled in your skills yet, so there's nothing here to fill in. And then, I have a homebrew rule that every 4 linguistics ranks, you get 1 extra. So if you get any of those, they'll pop up down here. And then I just left some spaces down here just in case you happen to get a language from some weird source, like an item you're wearing or something. Then it would be included here. And then this big pink column makes a complete list of all the languages that you speak. So we've made it through the first tab. As it says at the top, it's important to fill this out first because it feeds a whole lot, basically every other tab in some way, even if it's just the name. And anytime you level up, you'll need to come back to this and update it. This next tab is the data summary. This is just here because I figured it would be handy to have one place that you could come and see the total number of resources that you have. It's also a place where we track our downtime dates, but you won't be able to type anything into this sheet at all. Again, it's locked, so you can't make any changes to it. This is just for reference for you. Which takes us to resources in. I happen to know that our last game was D37, and this first line in your resources in, I think incoming resources pretty much is self-explanatory. This is where we're going to keep up with the gold, the goods, the influence, the labor, the magic, non-magical session points, consumable session points, permanent session points, signature item points, and fight club points. This is where everything that comes into your character will be sent. And the very first line, I've already filled in. I didn't realize I hadn't done the rest, but we'll do it right now. I've already filled in his session points totals. I also went out to Fantasy Grounds and found out how much gold he had, and it was 3,317. And then I also have records of how many of these resources he has. So there you go. All this is filled in now, and he's got his starting values. And if we go back to the data summary, you see that all that's plugging in and appearing here now. I went ahead and filled in the start and end dates for the downtime that I've been promising you for months and months. And it's basically the entire 9th month, the Eliant month on our calendar is a downtime that we'll get to when we talk about downtime. Now, again, as I told you before, you will only ever type in the green areas. The way this sheet works, and it should be sort of evident by the way this data summary works, is this isn't a ledger where you're going to see debits and credits back and forth, line by line for every single thing you do. Instead, what the sheet does is it keeps up a total of every resource that you brought in, and it keeps up a total of every resource that went out, and then you end up with a balance of what you currently have remaining. And that made managing this so much easier, something that, again, I didn't want to run a giant ledger book. It's a couple of probably some logical or chronological flaws that can occur in them, but I'll show you as we go through this that those aren't really a problem. Over here in this pink area, every time we start a game is where I'll add your session points that are earned. And then here in this green area is where you'll put incoming resources that aren't accounted for by the rest of the sheet. And the sheet accounts for just about everything, but there are certain things that I can't predict, and I listed what I could think of up here. So as far as incoming resources, if a PC gives you something, so if you get some magic from one of your friends and they just hand it to you, then I couldn't have predicted that. You'll log that here, what game it happened on. You can put any notes to remind you why it happened or whatever. If you find treasure in the form of gold, then you'll put it on here. Now's probably as good a time as any to mention that we're not going to track gold in Fantasy Grounds anymore. It'll only be tracked out here. So I'm not going to do things like give you gems and platinum and silver and copper and all that. From now on, it's all just gold because it makes, in spite of its unrealistic, nature, I guess, it makes managing all this way easier. And all of you just got some percentage stronger because the weight of those coins won't have to be kept up with as part of your encumbrance anymore. So consider it a bonus. Anyway, the things I expect you to put here: PC to PC transfers, found treasure. If you sell something to vendors and get money back, obviously I couldn't have predicted that, and I'm not going to set up some sort of system for it because it actually doesn't happen that often. Just any old loot that you find, which can be not just gold, right? But you'll be able to find goods out in the world, or you might find magic out in the world. You're not going to find influence or labor, but you might earn it by helping somebody who then offers those things to you, either because they're important and they can give you their influence, or because they're grateful and they're willing to do work for you as labor. And then lastly, if you happen to harvest something from the environment, so you kill a dragon and then you carve out its spleen because you know that can be used to make potions, then that'll end up benefiting you in the form of magic capital. So those are the things that I expect you to put here. I'll be putting your session points over here. Fight Club points are something we'll talk about when we get to downtime. If you decide to spend a lot of time at the Fight Club, you can earn points for that can be used for stuff. The rest of the sheet is in pink, and honestly, I considered just hiding this stuff from you guys, but for now, at least, I thought you might want to see the math as it happens. So, on the crafting tab, if you suck the magic out of a magic item, then it's going to show up here as incoming magic. If whatever you do during downtime earns you any sort of income, including gold or capital or Fight Club points, they'll be added here. If you build buildings and run organizations and they benefit you by bringing stuff in, then that's going to show up here. I'll add your group venture income here. So these are the sort of the businesses that you own together that I'll be sort of managing, but you'll be getting a percentage of the profits. Those will show up here. And then there's little one-off things that happen on occasion that I'll take care of down here. Like you can just spend money to buy capital if you want to. You can sell off your building that you built if you want to. So those sort of things that don't happen very often, but I still needed a place to keep up with them, I put here. And then you'll see this throughout the sheet. I've got places where I remind you that every time you earn capital, you have to pay for it. If you just go and buy it, it costs twice as much as if you earn it. This is here to remind you not to get upside down by earning so much capital that you can no longer pay for it. Because messing around with this sheet in practice, I realized that's incredibly easy to do. It's to make yourself broke while you're bringing in all this capital. But actually the sheet calculates those costs for you on this Resources Out tab, which we will click over to now. Again, it's the same sort of thing. You don't type in the red areas, you only type in the green areas. This is for outgoing resources, and the sheet really accounts for most of your outgoing resources. The only ones I could think of that I couldn't predict through this sheet was if you go to a store and buy something, then you'd log that on this sheet. And again, if you transfer something PC to PC, then one of you is going to deduct it from your sheet and the other is going to add it to his sheet. So if you're the giver, then you would write that deduction here. The things that happen on this sheet but that you have no control over are the expenditures of crafting resources, which are gold and magic and your session points. When you spend your signature item points, you'll see them deducted here. If you spend your Fight Club points, they'll be deducted here. Of course, downtime isn't all profit. There are costs associated with making certain things happen. Those costs are added up here. Specifically, if you earn capital, there's a space here where it'll charge you the gold that capital cost you. Having buildings and organizations obviously have overhead to keep them running, and that's all managed here. This is the wages that you pay your staff and that sort of thing. And then lastly, just like before, there are some things that are sort of one-offs that the sheet doesn't dynamically manage, but I can come out here and manage on the fly if I need to. Same little chart down here at the bottom. Again, I'm very zoomed in here. When you do this, you'll want to be a little bit further out because there's stuff off the screen here that you're not seeing in its entirety. So some of these things are necessarily kind of large, so you'll want to be sure you're scrolling around and seeing the whole sheet as you're filling it out. But I've tried to keep the green stuff for you guys near the top and obvious as much as I can, and I've tried to have at least some sort of prompt to remind you what those lines are for. We are about 20 minutes into this video, I think, so I am going to just show you a couple of more tabs that are super simple, and then we'll end this video. I've got a contacts tab here. This, if you have managers of your businesses or leaders of your teams, I want you to list them here, and then we're going to figure out what your reputation is with them on this sheet. You'll see it's pulling in your level, your charisma modifier, how many ranks you have in diplomacy, and then I'm actually going to give you the ability to use the honor system and come up with your own reputation with the people you list here. You'll see that I have some categories of what might make people's opinion of you go up or down. So if you have a well-publicized failure, that's a -2. If you have a well-known pet or possess a famous or infamous magic item, that would be a +1 to your reputation. And again, because I'm so zoomed in, you can't see the end here, but it's got a total and a place for you to put notes. Your reputation number, the more positive it is, the more likely you are to be able to get these people to do a favor for you. And in the case of the managers of your businesses and the leaders of your organizations, they will act more in line with your best interest the higher your total reputation is with them. The only people I'm going to likely force you to put on here are those managers and leaders. But as you meet significant NPCs, I'd like you to get in the habit of listing them here and keeping up with your reputation with them, especially if you want to role play interactions with them in the future. I think you might be tempted to just put the people who you would have a positive reputation with, which you don't really have a lot of people right now that you would have a negative reputation with, but any significant NPCs probably ought to be listed here, and it's a good place for you to remember who they are and keep up with some notes. And again, I'm putting you in charge of your own reputation. Just, use your best judgment. Ask me if you have a question. The last tab I'm going to show you, I'm skipping crafting and signature items and skills and downtime for now. And I'm going to scoot down here to the end to this PC Notes tab. I've got a place here just for you to put comments to me. So as you're using this sheet, if something dawns on you right then and there, remember I have total access to your sheet. I mean, not surprisingly, right? So if something dawns on you, wow, I really don't like the way this tab works, or I think this could be better, or I'm confused about this, just make a quick note here while you're thinking of it, so you don't have to worry about remembering it or putting it on the board later or whatever. And I'll find it here when I'm reviewing your sheet, and I can act on it or try to respond to it or whatever. Also, if you care to use this sheet as a place to keep up with notes in Landis's game, I use a sheet like this to make a lot of notes about what's going on. You're welcome to do that. This sheet is not at all locked down, and it's all yours to do what you want to with. So that takes you through the sort of the setup sheet, the resources in and out, the data summary, your contacts, and your notes tab. Next time we'll get into crafting and signature items, skills, and downtime management will come eventually. But I think that is probably enough for this video. So thank you guys for watching. I appreciate it.